Hello friends, Father Charles here with Solid Luchum. I want to talk to you about a really serious and sad subject today. Last night I was disheartened to hear of yet another school shooting, this time at the University of North Carolina in Charlotte. Someone with a gun came onto campus and started shooting people. 2 are dead, and at least 4 more have been shot and injured. It was UNC Charlotte this time. But this is not the only campus. It could have been anywhere. I think about my sister, who is a rising senior at Virginia State University. She's lived and worked and learned on that campus for 3 years. And in those 3 years, at least 3 or 4 acts of violence like this have happened on or near her campus involving students. 3 or 4 in just 3 years. I mean, it's a really sad commentary that this has happened so many times at my sister's school that I can't even for sure remember how many times it has happened. Now, predictably, there will be loud shouts from both the left and the right about guns. My friends on the right are going to argue, well, the Constitution gives us a right to keep and to bear arms. My friends on the left are going to argue that we just need common sense gun control, and that will solve our problem. I'm not going to try to persuade you one way or the other about gun control. Shouting about guns misses the point. Shouting about guns doesn't address what's at the heart of the problem. What's at the heart of our problem is a deep spiritual sickness and the sin of violence. There is always a person with his finger on the trigger when someone is shot. There is always a person with his hand on the knife when someone is stabbed. There is always a person with his hand on the steering wheel when a vehicle is driven into a crowd of people intentionally. Whether the person uses a gun or a knife or a car or something else, the result is always the same: death, injury, and outcry. And the result is always from the same cause: that deep-seated spiritual sickness and violence. It is that sin that is at the heart of this problem. Now, you are created in God's image and likeness. I'm created in God's image and likeness. We are all created in God's image and likeness. Every single person. Your life, my life, every human life is valuable. We are valuable because we are created in God's image and likeness. From the moment of conception until natural death, God has chosen and loved each of us. In fact, God loved humans so much that He created us, and when we got far from Him and started running from Him, He sent His Son Jesus to live and to die as one of us, to call us back to Him. But we as a people have ran away from God for a really long time. And what's the natural result of all that running but of devaluing of human life? If you don't value and love the God who chose and loved and created us in His image and likeness, then how are you going to love and value one another? How are you going to respect the dignity of human life if you don't even respect the one who created human life? There is no simple, quick legislative fix for this. There is no law that can solve the problem, because no law can force any person to turn his heart away from that sin of violence. No, we don't need more laws to stop people from doing things. We need to address people's hearts. We need to address the sin of violence. We need to address that running away from God. Now, the prophet Micah tells of a day that is coming, a day when all of the people are going to run up to the Temple Mount of the Lord. The Lord's Temple Mount will be higher than the mountains, and it will tower over all the hills. People will flock to that Temple Mountain because they want to learn about God. They want to love Him and to learn His commandments. And the Lord Himself, Jesus Himself, will be the judge of every person. Jesus will settle our disagreements amongst ourselves. And on that day, on the day when we return to the Lord, when we run to Him and embrace Jesus, that day we will begin to beat our swords down into plowshares. What a glorious day that will be. What a glorious day indeed. It is a day that we should each look forward to, that we should each work towards. Now, this sounds like some kind of pipe dream. People are going to magically lay down their weapons and get along. But this isn't some sort of Fantasyland pipe dream where people are going to get along just to get along and take care of one another. This day is the result of people making choices, of people choosing to follow Jesus, of people choosing to love God and to follow His commandments, of people choosing to respect the inherent dignity and worth in every human life because God has created us in His image and likeness, and because God loves us and chooses us and calls us. Because God loved us so much that He was willing to come and to live and to die and to be with us. It is in this coming together and the seeking of Jesus that the people will be gathered together in love and harmony. It is in this worship of Jesus and of following His commandments, the greatest two of which are to love the Lord your God with all your mind, with all your strength, with all that God has given you that makes you you. The second is to love your neighbor just like you love yourself. When we begin to do that, when we start to follow Jesus like that, then we will see each other as created in God's image and likeness, and we will begin to value and to love and to respect one another. We will begin to value human life. When we come together as followers of Jesus and live like that, then, and only then, will we begin to beat our swords into plowshares and address this issue of violence. So, what are you to do? It's going to be tempting to try to score some cheap and easy political points in the next couple of days. It's fun to dash off a Facebook post or an angry tweet attacking the other side because how stupid they must be. I must admit that I've fallen into that trap more than once myself. I am tempted by that. It feels good. People like my posts, they comment on them. People pat me on the back and say, "What a great job, how prophetic." But that's not going to do any good. Do not give in to the temptation. Resist it. Even if people might praise you and like what you have to say for it. Instead, choose to be mindful about how you live your life. Are you a follower of Jesus? Now, I'm not asking, do you go to church? Or are you a nice or a good person, whatever that means? I'm asking, do you follow Jesus in the way that you choose to live your life each and every day? Do you live your life so that others see the love of God and Jesus Christ in the way that you live? live? Do you live your life to respect the dignity of human life? Because God does. Or not? Be so much like Jesus in the way that you choose to live your life each and every day, that you do become the type of person that respects the dignity of human life from conception until natural death, even when it's politically inconvenient and doesn't sit well with your team. Be so much like Jesus in the way that you live your life that you are constantly about prayer. Be so much like Jesus in the way that you live your life that people can see God and His love in you. Be so much like Jesus in the way that you live your life that you are a person who is constantly about prayer. Pray, my friends. Pray for the conversion of our nation and of the world. Pray that we will come together and worship God and be instructed in His commandments. Pray that people will recognize Jesus as their King and Lord. Pray for the people at the University of North Carolina in Charlotte. Pray for those who have died. Pray for those who have been shot and injured. Pray for the shooter. Pray that we all might come to see each other as created in God's image and likeness.